June 29th, 2023, the 10th booster pack for Vanguard comes out, and that pack is the Dragon Masquerade. And we're back with another set of
Vanguard!
But this one's different, more sinister, more meaningful, more meta-defining, more masking? Before we get into set 10, let's talk about the current state of D format and what horrors lie in set 10. There are 4 decks that most players would consider the best deck in this format right now, with a myriad of decks just below the power level, but still these 4 still reign on top. Youthberg shot to the most popular deck in the room for a while with the release of Tempest in set 7, and remains a constant threat in both locals and at tournament level. Draconic Overlord takes the throne of the promo Hellscape and emerges a dangerous menace that likes to show off how cool the DE overtrigger looks in their drive checks. Both of these decks are able to keep their hand size unusually large for D format standards, and bolster great tools that rack up almost free advantage. However, Youth falls just a bit short of the offensive power ceiling compared to the other best decks, and DO, while itching to pull the trigger and end your pathetic life on that 2 to pass, is just a bit too linear when compared to the other 2 above it. And most people would consider one of these next 2 decks to be the fabled BDIF. There's Ava and Chronojet. I won't go too much into it about how these decks function, but Ava is able to do the old Brandt Gate deck thinning while having some of the most utility in the format between rears with crits, front row attack, decent intercept values, and a little bit more on top of that. This is on top of the fact that these 2 idiots can't be retired because of the order that has more effects than most lyrical entire ride lines. And Jet can stride. That's it really, it really is just that strong. And because of that, most people would like to believe that Jet is the better pick over Ava since she's still missing that promo to slightly push her over the edge. Now these decks all have something incredibly important for them to be the kings and queens of D format, and that thing is consistency. Ava is able to find pieces in rears whenever she wants, Youthberg has searchers at the ass, DO doesn't really need that much to get started, and drive checking 4 times a turn really does help you find your pieces, and Jet strides. He still strides. Also, his rod line draws 2 cards, he gets a free stride fodder, and Fate Rider upstream is able to find your GG whenever, yeah. Consistency is crucial to any deck under consideration for tournament usage, but also changes how the game is fundamentally. Because you can just assume your opponent has the pieces they need, damage denying is becoming more helpful and borderline mandatory in some situations. Suddenly, decks have the capacity to tank full Persona Ride turns, so you're forced to think of your most efficient turns rather than your most threatening turns. Now that we've shown that we can handle the onslaught of set 9 and everything prior to it, it's time to kick things up a notch. These new forms of all the units that have been affected by the Dragon Tree hive mind are boosted up Vanguards that try to reinforce or outright change how their old selves used to be played, and they're all powered up by the mask found usually on their head. The mask allows you to superior ride from hand a mask Vanguard onto your non-mask Vanguard, but here's the kicker: if your opponent's on grade 3 or greater, you get to Persona Ride. The tables have turned all of a sudden. The complete rhythm of the game is reversed now that going second gets the first Persona Ride turn. The mask also activates from drop and has a top 5 check when played from hand, which means you're being refunded a generous amount for being forced to find pieces before your grade 3. This incredibly powerful effect to go all out on turn 3 makes the mask super impactful right out the grate, since Chronojet, the one that's considered the best deck in the format preset 10, has a notoriously weak grade 3 turn if they went first. It's very clear that this was made as a direct counter to the reigning menace of the format with the intent to push out the best deck without any direct hits to it, although they still got hit. And these masks are what set 10 is all about, and it'll be the main focus and we'll be sweeping the pie charts for the future to come. Alright, all that preamble and we're finally getting into the cards. Starting off with probably the most impactful card of the set, Gandeeva, who isn't a mask. He's just an archer. Okay. Get out of here, you. Gandeeva. Let's talk about the ride line first. So first, there's the Bav ride line versus the Gandeeva ride line. The Bav ride line basically lets you ride for free all the way through it, and this has been used in some splashes of more generic DE build. The Gandeeva ride line gives you a free discard one time, and it gives you a free Gandeeva effect for the first time it's used. And that effect is CB1, real top 5, tire your opponent's rear guards with the same grades as the card revealed. Weird way to do it, but hey, anytime they can shuffle the OT that was on top of the deck, I'll take it. If you retired one or less rears with this effect, you can draw a card and bind a card face down. I wonder what that's for. Well, it's for this. Front row gets bigger the more cards that are binded face down. Once you hit 5, Gandeeva gets a crit. Oh, I see, so that's more of like a turn 5 thing, maybe turn 4 if you're kinda lucky. No. Everything retired, Gandeeva sees, and you can bind a card from your drop face down, making turn 3 5+ cards and bind a lot more reasonable than you may think. Well, this is a pretty good Vanguard. It has very nice potential, has a good list of effects, they all kind of synergize with each other. This deck definitely has a lot of potential. Maybe in the next couple sets, and maybe a promo, this will be tier 2, or maybe even tier 1. Oh, they printed everything they need in the very first wave? Everything they could possibly need in the very first set? Out of the box? Okay. That can't be true. Let's see. Multi-attack, extra draw power, countercharger, and all the retire you could possibly ask for? Okay, they really did give him everything in the first wave. Lists are currently playing most of all the direct support from this set on top of MFD and Brachioforce. Both of these are extra retire, which you need just a little bit more of, but in a different ways. MFD is a big beater and can possibly annoy your opponent with his skill drain effect, and Brachioforce, while being an on-hit, retires without CBing, which is something that's quite valuable in Dragon Empire. What's become of Dragon Empire? Countercharge used to be earned, not given. People died for your right to countercharge, and they're just giving away in the first wave now. What has this empire become? Anyways, Jiva got a countercharger. Mirrors crossovers, is that a word? And throws 2 Verina's names into its soul, its original dress. Whenever Mirrors attacks, it gains plus 10k for that battle, and you can do either of the following: draw 1 or countercharge 1. This applies every time he attacks, and if you don't know, Jiva restands it. So we're countercharging like fucking crazy now. Fuck countercharge 1. Why to stop there? Let's keep going. You can use that newfound CB to use its other effect to call a Trickstar from drop, get 2 of these things going, and only God can stop us. Countercharge the whole deck. New Verina means new Prayer Dragon. If it gets crossovered, Soul Blast 1, top 7 check for 2 Verinas, drop 1 into the drop zone, and add 1 to hand. Damn, both these cards are really good. Can't say that Jiva has been performing well lately though, which is mostly due to the fact that these crossover units still don't like being retired since you would be forced to rebuild them every turn. And if you weren't paying attention to the last couple of minutes, Jiva's little cousin came to ruin the family dinner. Speaking of family, let's talk about the Keter family. We're still not talking about the mask units despite me hyping them up in the intro so much. Please, we're almost there. After Gandeeva, one of the other most impactful cards in this set is actually a new Vanguard form that, again, not a mask. Hexa Orb Aquamarine. Now, Hexa Orb's been here since set 1, but hasn't been in anime a single time, so she's been in this weird spot. She gets to have a new form, but she's not with the cool kids with the anime budget. However, they didn't skimp out on her effects. Her effects are simple but powerful. If you Persona Road this turn, drive +1, and your triggers get plus 10k. Then, when a trigger is revealed during your drive check, Soul Blast 1 and restand a unit. Original Hexa Orb was very clearly not ready for D format, at least with how early they released her. They restricted her behind Persona Ride with limited ways to find it, and they didn't want to commit to a Vanguard that gives powers through triggers yet, so they had to wait like 5 whole sets for the first good wave of support for her. And they also just gave better decks triple drive for free while she was still paying a toll. They made Aquamarine as a challenge for the rest of D format decks and said, yeah, they can probably handle it. All of her support provided in this set are ways to top check since she doesn't stack her deck by herself anymore. But now the deck needs to change its deck building priorities. The deck has no longer mandatory CB use, but now needs a lot more soul to get the full value out of its turns. Lists are still playing a base Hexa Orb in the ride line since it does something a little bit more practical on non-Persona ride turns, and it synergizes well with the Grade 2 ride line, and Octoray is still the MVP of the deck. And now with no other competing CB costs, you can just fire away whenever you see her. But most of the other cards in the list are top checks so you can actually hit your triggers for your Hexa Orb. I've also been seeing the Grade 3 Bastion booster, since it's a 13k booster if you restood something, Dragon Tree Solda since it's a CB1 draw 1, and even Diaclass who helps you make a board in this retire heavy meta. Thanks, Gandeeva. Well, hold on, let's not move away from Keter just yet. We got an entire new ride line. Can you believe it? Oh shit, it's the Pope. So Rhyron is a strange addition to this set, as it's also a new deck that revolves around stacking your drive checks. The difference being is that instead of stacking triggers, you're actually stacking units to call. When he attacks, counterblast 1, top 2 check to call a unit and place the other on the top or the bottom of the deck. And you guessed it, a lot of the support he has units that get effects if they're called from the deck. He also has CB1 at the beginning of the battle phase to give half of Persona Ride to your front row. You gotta guess what the top card of your deck is, although you probably know. His ride line is actually pretty good. At grade 3, they both get called out, and they both have pretty good effects on their own. So much so that you're actually running them in max copies in most builds of the deck right now. The grade 2 countercharges, and the grade 1 correctly stacks your deck by drawing and then placing a unit from your hand there. This is one of the problems with Soul Ryon. With a ton of generic stacking this set, but you really want to have specific units that stack specifically for Solarion's purpose. So his effect actually goes off consistently. He got this dragon that gets rid of himself so you won't call over something and lose advantage, and is another correct stacker, but he's not amazing to call from the top since he just puts another normal unit for your drive checks. And we're at the next problem. That's not really an amazing amazing unit to call off this effect. There's a card in this set that lets you draw one, but that doesn't really work with your stacking, because now you're drawing the card that you know, and so you're just doing blind drive checks again. Called Drilling Angel or Caliber, but that again messes up your deck order, and you're forfeiting the small stack to get some resources. I don't know. The deck is very clearly missing some pieces, and this is a huge L for Catholicism. Again, mask time. It's here.
Good lord, what is happening in there?
Teasing Spiritualist Zorga Masks lets you Alchemagic, gives plus 10k to the front row, and you can remove a Zorga from play, from hand, drop, or soul, to call a normal unit from drop, or add a normal order to hand. Basically, he has all the good effects from red and blue, which why people are calling him Purple Zorga, while also increasing their effects and removing their costs. If you thought getting double RPT set up on their turn was easy before, now Zorga basically spawns them out of nowhere. Just kidding, you still have to draw these fucking idiots. Let me explain an important quirk to the mask units real quick. The Masquerade effect actually happens from drop during the main phase, meaning you can do it whenever you want as long as you're in the main phase. This means you would prefer a Vanguard with a main phase skill to use that helps you before you mask for the rest of the game. And the result of that is Blue Zorga is actually back in the ride line, and you can use that beautiful set 1 SP you've been keeping in your binder. Crazy effects, but Zorga is still a Vanguard swing and 2 RPD swings and pass, and oh my goodness, what is that?
भाई लड़ाई हो गई भाई तेरी लड़ाई है ना तू जाके देख
నిశ్శబ్దం పగిలి ముక్కలవుతున్న భీకర దృశ్యం అలలెగసిన తడియాల గడి ఆగ్రహ తేజమై రూపుదాల్చిన సత్యం ఆగ్రహప్రాణపరాయ.
Zorga got a 4th attack. Keeling Severing calls himself to a Dragon Tree marker mid-battle phase. And how do you get yourself a Dragon Tree marker? We got these new mask searchers that also happen to make markers too. Oh, thank God I don't have to play this idiot. The other Stoicheia mask is Leonorn. Leonorn bros, our wait is paid off. All the masks have strong effects by removing their name from somewhere, and Leonorn lets you pop an opponent's rear and revive a grade 1 or less from drop. She still lets you do the Omega boost with 3 units in the back row, but instead of getting a drive, she restands 2 rears with the CB. This is a simple but strong effect that really lets good rear guards shine. I'm talking Tideline, RPD, and even Clapping Dragon. And because of the new CB cost, she got a countercharger. Amelia believes in the Bandmaster, and so do I. March on. We had 2 masks in Stoicheia, and 2 are in the Dark States for whatever reason. Karmic, Demonic, Jeweled, Dragon. Jeweled mask removes a Jeweled to put 2 cards from drop into soul and gains crit. On attack, he now CBs and soul charges 4 specific grades to retire 2 opponent's rear guards and sets them to 1. And don't worry, he got a countercharger with the added CB cost to his effect. A recurring theme today. The first effect actually allows you to be a lot more consistent with your soul and not being forced to run suboptimal rears because they specifically soul charge. Now we run the good rears from Dark States. The best, of course, is Swirler, who still costs too much, and Gungram, who is getting there. Oh yeah, don't worry, Dark State's got a mask searcher too, same effect and cost too. The biggest question with this support is, are we finally going to get that promo from JP that they've been playing for like half a year now? The answer is not for a while. Next up on the lookout is Unica. Unica got her own mask, but this is definitely the odd one of the bunch. Unlike the other 3, which were direct upgrades, Unica has more of a side grade or finisher type of feel. Xeno Almastar Astrea Biko masks removes an Astrea to retire an opponent's rear and gain a drive. She then, counterblast 1, Soul Blast 3, binds all the crits from the Soul Blast to restand a rear and gives both this unit and that unit plus 5k for every 2 crits in your bind. Unlike the other ones, Unica didn't gain a countercharger with the added CB cost, but she wasn't counterblasting to begin with, so it's fine. This is a weird one. Yeah, giving a 3 attack deck a 4th attack is a big deal, but somehow this feels less impactful than the other masks we got. I guess that plus 1 drive carries a heavier cost than we think. If I see the OT on the 3rd drive check, I'm switching to Digimon. She only got 1 other relevant card, but it's actually generically strong in other decks too. This dragon lets you top check and either keeps it there or you get to put in a soul. And this is completely free as long as you soul blast 3 or more of that turn. Wait, I thought Keter units were supposed to top check, and Dark State cards were supposed to soul charge the triggers, and drive check nothing. I'm getting mixed themes here. Football, 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 football.
That's fucking football right there! None of that pansy-ass, dick-tugging smile for the camera bullshit!
Football, football. Patrick is a 20k beater in the final burst, and when he attacks a Vanguard in final rush, Soul Blast 1 and move an opponent's rear guard to a Guardian Circle, and if you're in final burst, move 2 instead of 1. Yes, you can proc him on both of the attacks for when Bruce freestands him, and yes, Bruce has a board wipe now. Why does Bruce have a board wipe now? This is almost as funny as Breach Spurter, but hey, football. Oh yeah, another cheerleader came out, but they'll never replace her. Greedon's getting pimped out next set, but hey, he's got a horse in this one. Why is everyone getting retired now? Even Greedon? Those guards are 6'2". That's crazy. Alright, let's wrap it up here with, what do you mean I forgot a nation? Lyrical isn't in the main set. Oh yeah. Brandt Gate got the short end of the stick for once this set, with only minimal support for a couple of decks. Some are good, but not really that game changing. They couldn't call this Mecha Pilot Hathaway, so he's called Halfway. Very funny. Halfway's flash, draws a card, and he just continuously countercharges as long as he still stays on the field. This would be crazy if every single deck didn't get board control this set. It's a good card, let's see what else we got. Penetrate Aquas is finally prison support that makes its way into the deck since the grade 4 got revealed. On place, your opponent chooses a card from the drop and imprisons it. Why do they choose? I'm not used to the police giving the opposition choices. She's an 18k beater and a 10k shield, and and she's a Garter Strict 2 from hand. She's good, don't get me wrong, but she was probably needed 4 sets ago. This ain't set 4 meta, we're clowning this motherfucker. So on right turn 3. Orpha's got arguably the best card in the set for Brandt Gate, and it's only a common. On place, top 7 check, and throw 2 World Orders from the drop. Just deck them 2 for 3. And then after an attack, you can grab an order you probably milled from the drop. This gets even better when you remember Orpheus calls over shit usually with tokens, but this guy actually gets rid of himself before that happens. Damn, that's really cool, Orpheus. Can I hold your board for a second with all these tokens? Oops. We actually got a little group of rear guards based around a rare set order. Dispatch, 3 Sisters of Cleaning. You thought it was the Dragon Masquerade. It's been the Dragon Masquerade all along. All your front row units get plus 2k, and this stacks with each copy. Speaking of stack, the boss of these cards sits in the back row and gains an effects based on the number of set orders you have. She gets 5k with 1, she gets targeting protection with 2, and the final payoff is that all your back row units get plus 5k. The other 2 idiots top 5 check for each other and the set order for a CB. These numbers aren't to life around it, and the targeting protection is actually relevant for this meta. These girls can find a home to clean in the giant moth kaiju deck? Does he have a home to clean? Now, Brandt Gate getting a new set order isn't anything new, but every nation this set actually got a good order to play with. Dragon Empire got a column retire for a CB, notably that this targets the column, not the units. Keter Sanctuary got a top 2 check and call/stack for just a CB. Stoicheia actually got a top 5 check to call and just mills the other 4 cards. Dark State's got one that says Soul Charge 1 and call a unit from Soul to gain plus 5k. Notice something? Well, you should notice the lack of something. Yeah, the card's just free. That's pretty crazy. We got cycle orders for the set, but we also got cycle units to pair with them. All of them have the same effect that when discarded during the ride phase, you can Soul Blast 1 to put them on the bottom of the deck to draw 1, giving you some nice extra consistency to see pieces if needed. To get their other effects, you need to Persona Ride like the ones in set 9. The Dragon Empire 1 retires a column for a CP again. Keter top checks again, but you put the card into hand instead of calling it. Stoicheia prevents your opponent's front row from restanding and intercepting. Hey, we don't need to wait for Mushi King for the Mega Colony representation D format. Dark States calls from Soul, and Brandt Gate searches for a set order, giving you another set order activation and lets you play a set order for free. Holy shit, that's insane. All the miscellaneous cards in the set are technically Dragon Tree support since they want to be on markers or everything like that, but whatever, there's just a bunch of this junk everywhere. That about wraps up the Dragon Masquerade. This set is really going to shake up the game, and I'm going to enjoy it for the time being. It's only a matter of time before the next Stride set comes and haunts these grounds, so I'm going to enjoy it while the time lasts. Oh yeah, there's idle shit in this set too. Thanks for watching.